All righty. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you again for joining us today. My name is Seth Kelly with BlueInk Technologies. We're excited, and I certainly hope that you are all healthy and well. Interesting times, to say the least. Really, I wanted to quickly point out we had about 50 different cities and counties register for today's webinar, representing about 9 different states. So we're grateful to you. Certainly thank you again for attending us, and hopefully you'll find the information we're presenting today to be very helpful in future operations that you might have for your particular departments and needs. Certainly trying times in nearly every government office in some way, shape, or form has been impacted by the pandemic. So I do want to applaud each of you for your efforts in continuing to support the needs of your communities. It's easy to overlook that government is run by our friends and neighbors. And certainly a thank you to all of you for what you do to help those communities sustain through this trying time. So the purpose of today's webinar is to help identify really where technology such as e-signatures can be used to assist with new complications created by the pandemic operationally. From working from home and maintaining social distancing while keeping your doors open to the community is no easy task. But there are solutions to help combat these complications that many have come across, and really hopefully create new efficiencies moving forward and into the future anyway through certain technologies available, such as e-signatures. On that note, I would like to introduce our panel today. We have Travis Cutright. He's the CIO with the City of Mesa. We have Paul Paledna, who is the Deputy CIO for the City of Mesa, and probably another 20 different titles, if I had to guess, at this time. And then we have Aaron Madsen. He's a Senior IT Engineer and probably has about 50 different titles, if I had to guess at this time. I've had a chance to work with this group at length, and certainly applaud you all for the work you are doing, and thank you for taking time to chat with us today and provide some information to those throughout the country on some of the things that you're doing there at the City of Mesa to support through this process. So thanks again. Let me go ahead and unmute the group. All right, thanks guys, sorry about that. Again, thanks everybody, welcome Travis, Aaron, Paul.
Thank you.
Hello.
Excellent. Well, I'd like to start by learning about Mesa's approach to accommodating the new normal, if you will, when it comes to working from home, ensuring the community has access to essential programs, and some of the steps, identifying some of the immediate needs that the city had. So Travis, I'd like to ask, development of an action plan. What were some of the difficulties in converting to a remote workforce and really ensuring the city was still open to the public?
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks for inviting us to participate, Seth. One thing to note, Paul has been promoted to assistant CIO. So
Paul, congratulations, my friend.
You.
Well deserved.
So when we started hearing buzz of at the time of coronavirus and how it was affecting countries and organizations and that sort of thing, staff got ahead of it, and we scheduled a series of meetings to really put together a matrix of services that are provided by the City of Mesa and by the Department of Innovation and Technology. What types of equipment we might need to continue to provide those services if at that time the organization made the decision to go to a remote workforce. In response to this, that there had been no orders or any talk about teleworking or anything at that time, and so the team got together and started inventorying services that we provided and what things we could accommodate day one and what things we needed to build out to be able to accommodate a full stay-at-home order.
Sure.
And that, and so, and one of those things, that you got to take into consideration with regards to interacting with the public is the workflow behind it, and how do we sign forms of submitted, with folks not coming into the office, and what does all that look like, and not to do a shameless plug, but BlueInk's been a great partner of ours, and we were impressed with our interaction with you all, and so your name came up, and we wanted to engage BlueInk and talk about what it might look like to quickly put together forms and electronic signatures and all that. And the reason, well, there are companies that you can work with that will do things like that, but we know, and we knew that you all were nimble and you'd be able to respond quickly to what it was that we needed to put together. And so that's why we engaged you all. And so, from a technology standpoint, we've got a technology refreshment program that's in place. And so fortunately, we had a lot of equipment on the shelf that we were going to use to start replacing dated technology anyway. And so we were able to tap that to start getting it in the hands of folks that needed the telework and that. And so we were just fortunate, I guess, in that we had started to roll out that equipment, and two, to be able to provide services. We had a partner like you all that was nimble enough that we could get with you and pretty much as an extension of our staff and start tweaking programs and different things quickly so that we can continue to provide services when we got to mid-March and actually got the stay-at-home orders.
Right.
I think, and Paul and Aaron can correct me, but I think we had less than a week when the city manager said, get everybody remote. And so Aaron and her team started scrambling, Paul and his team. We all just, I say scramble. We had done a lot of prep work, and as much as it was a mad dash, we were in pretty good position to put the switch and start working remotely. So.
Well, I certainly, Travis, I appreciate the kind words, my friend. And, by all accounts, a lot of different cities, counties, states were in a similar boat where in a matter of a couple of weeks, they had to put together action plans to accommodate the items identified. And then, of course, the hundreds of other things that came up during that process of remote and accommodating those, constituents, businesses, et cetera, throughout. So thank you for the information on that. I think that it's safe to say most have probably been through a similar process in trying to do that. I know we did as a company as well. In the private sector, we had, a similar time frame to get everything set up. Now, so as far as kind of the specific uses, and Aaron, I know you've been tasked with managing a lot of the onboarding, if you will, for certain departments, and we've certainly done work with you on several now. Maybe give us an idea of what were some of the departments that needed immediate support, and what were the reasons for that?
Well, so fortunately, some of our departments we're very forward thinking, and we're already kind of thinking like we really want to eliminate a lot of our paper processes anyway, because we're shuffling papers from people to people to people.
Right.
I would, so we had this on board, like ready, like here's the list of people that really wanted to move to eSignatures even before the COVID pandemic started.
Sure.
But we actually obviously escalated that timeline in some of the situations because it was now like nobody's here to actually physically sign anything, and what are we going to do? So I would say probably one of our more critical groups at the time was our housing department. So the city has a housing authority that we run, and they completely shut their offices, and they are typically one of our more public facing areas. We have a lot of walk-in people, lots of paper applications, paper signatures, paper documentation being brought in, and they had to completely change their business model. I mean, not completely, but a huge chunk of their business went from walk-in paper stuff to what are we going to do? And they still are accepting some paper just because of technology issues and people like not having access to, say, our libraries where there's free computing resources and printers
Sure.
available. So they were one of the ones that we really needed to get moving because they wanted to be able to provide more of that e-form fill out, e-signature, submitting for their services, particularly in the climate we're in right now with job loss and stuff like that. So
Right.
those were ones that were really critical on like to get them up and running with some of obviously some of our other exercises that were going on at the time.
Sure. What were some of the, I know, seeing some of the work that was done for the account, even as far as applications, and it certainly seems for housing, there's a lot of different documents available. And the nature of those documents also requires supporting documentation, whether it's a utility bill, things like that. Knowing our feature, the attachment feature, tell us so far, how's it going with the housing department? How, as far as an efficiency and kind of improving the process for them?
Well, I will tell you, I say no news is good news because nobody's called to be like, this just absolutely isn't working.
Yeah, right.
I think it's done really well for them being able to, especially because you guys have the flexibility of photographing things. So I don't have to have a scanner necessarily to have it, scan in a file and upload a PDF. I can take a picture of my utility statement, or I can take a picture of my lease agreement if I'm seeking rental assistance and attach that right to my e-application from my mobile device. So I think
Sure.
the flexibility that you've offered we've been able to use you guys to offer to our citizens has been really beneficial because a lot of people have smart mobile devices, but they may not necessarily have internet and like a full-blown compute scan resource
Right.
available at home.
Sure. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. No news is good news. So, by all accounts, it seems to be working very well. And I know, some of the other programs that I'm aware of that are being used now. There's some human resource safety processing that has to go through, and certainly the police department most recently. Some of those higher volume areas that exist throughout different departments. Tell us a little bit, are some of the other departments that you envision coming on, and certainly how it will help combat some of the COVID complications of working from home and social distancing, just in communicating with constituents.
So like to your instance with safety services, so safety services is part of our human resources department, and one of the things they brought in and is used across the city is transitional work. So as people get work injuries, there's forms that they fill out so they can do, transition from their like maybe labor job to a more of an office job for a temporary time frame. And we have a lot of departments onboarding with that piece of it because that's kind of critical in some of our areas that have more physical labor involved and less like me sitting at my desk all day. It's not as dangerous. Less
Sure.
chance for injury. But I see some of our other areas like our convention center, for instance. They do a lot of contract signing with people that are coming in for events. And should we be able to open for events again sometime,
Right.
being able to e-sign those contracts and some of the agreements that come with that will become more important. A lot of our departments, I mean, we do have a lot of public dealing ones. I know HR is interested in looking at using that for our onboarding packets. So as new hire packets, there's lots of paperwork to sign. And in the past, like when I hired, you had to come down here and go to City Plaza and get your paper packet and fill out and sign and, return your paper packet. And
Sure.
eliminating that need is definitely more efficient, particularly if we have people that are coming in and hiring in from out of state, right?
Right.
So I think that's one that's on the board for a future possibility that they're interested in adding into.
Sure. We had a conversation with another group actually in Arizona about the police department, and there was a particular form that required you to come into the office, find parking, put a signature down, and then head back home for quarantine, whatever else might be. Is there anything similar that the police department with Mesa is doing now with that through the BlueInk platform?
So the police are just now starting to manage, and I don't know if they're doing so much with onboarding, but one of the things we're just bringing them up for is some of their internal investigation and documentation, because that has to go to many different people, the people involved, some of the chiefs, some of their different items there. So I think the police have a lot of stuff on their board because they still, um, can be very manual in some of their paperwork things, like
Sure.
some of their purchasing approvals, right? You get this little file folder with like a sign-off list on the front where it's got to be passed to like 12 different people depending on what it is, and it gets lost on people's desks. So I think as much as they can cut down on visits to buildings that are unnecessary, they will start seeing more, we'll start seeing more and more processes come on with that, because we do have a lot of things in the city that, oh, you need to go to this building and sign this piece of paper. So they're starting to
Sure.
look for ways around that.
Gotcha. Well, good. Thank you for the information there. And certainly, I'm sure you could go to any department and find an immediate need that they would all like to do it with. But certainly implementation of everyone being on board with the paperless process takes a little time. But well, and folks, I do want to chime in quickly. I forgot to mention this at the beginning. If you have any questions for us, please let us know. There's a Q&A feature within your toolbar. We will reserve a little bit of time at the end to answer some questions for you. So please do so. If you have a question, throw it in that Q&A and we'll get to you at the end. Thank you for that. Okay, so Paul, just a little background. Some of my experience with Paul recently is the Mesa Cares program that they created. As certainly many of you are now probably doing something very similar, whether it's funds received from the federal government or if it's state, came directly from the state. Paul really led the charge on really the implementation and all things included within their Mesa Cares program. And I wanted Paul just to touch base a little bit about the Mesa Cares program, how funds were made available and used for city programs, as well as maybe department operational support. You know, some of those other areas that the funding was really provided to use for.
Okay, sure. So our funding was actually direct from the federal government, as we're over 500,000 residents in the city of Mesa. So as the funding was made available, working with our city management and mayor and council, they established programs, again, under our Mesa Cares umbrella, to work with our public safety, doing things like the protective equipment. So we have our police department and our fire department. So that was, you know, definitely a big need for us. But we broke the balance across programs of kind of immediate and most impactful needs, which were helping our small businesses. We called it our Small Business Reemergence Program. That had a kind of a kicker program called Technical Assistance. As small businesses were not eligible, let's say, for the Paycheck Protection Program or some of the others, federal government programs, they were able to apply for our program to help with rental assistance and utilities. And then we also added on the ability, as they reemerge, to get assistance from partners tied to our economic development department to get help with accounting or launching an e-commerce website to help them change their business model and get that tech assistance in place. And then finally, we have a series of programs that are helping individual residents, households we'll call it, with their rental and utility assistance, as well as a Feed Mesa, a food program. So through most of the programs outside of public safety, that's all direct inside the city. The food programs, the housing assistance, utility assistance, we partnered with our community nonprofit organizations where we already had certain programs in place so they could get, you know, so we had an easy way to credit. We're a utility, water and energy, to credit their accounts or pay their landlord. And so that has worked out really well for us. Same with like United Food Bank, doing programs for them to distribute food, us just to use our funding to help procure the resources they needed and provide that technical assistance as they moved into a remote environment. And one of our big ones that, again, that BlueInk was a key player with us, a teammate, was our Small Business Reemergence. So across probably 4 of these programs, it is, again, that creating documents, workflowing them out to the applicants, or having the applicants start through the BlueInk portal, filling out their application, bringing that into the city, and then kind of case managing based on what the application was through, let's say, disbursement or finding the correct assistance program for them. So then you have acknowledgements. So in a lot of our CARES funding, we pretty much all, I'll call it all, we do not fund directly to the applicant, to the small business itself. So we have acknowledgement forms. And again, that's where you guys as BlueInk have played a big part of helping us make these contracts and acknowledgement documents available, workflow them back into the city so that we can do validations, verifications, and get them rapidly to a disbursement. So
Sure.
kind of as you touched on with the city, it's a lot of hands-off, not interacting, maintaining the social distancing, but trying to rapidly execute the program. And that, so online documentations, eSignature has been huge for the success of our program.
Great. And I will plug us a little bit here. So one of the features that we do offer is our smart document link. And Mesa was able to embed a URL code on their website for these applications that took those applicants directly into the application process. So there wasn't any manual delivery of forms through a more conventional electronic signature process, if you will. That seemed to be very helpful, certainly giving everyone access to those forms directly through the website.
Definitely, and that was important to us because we know that as part of the federal program, we'll get audited. What we didn't realize probably right at that moment is that as a city, we go through an annual external financial audit, and they're going to audit us as well. So we're testing out all of our processes right now with them. We're starting our audit. But it became important to have positive touch points and maintain accurate histories of all steps in the process. So submitting the application. So you go to our Mesa Cares website, you click the link, you start the process. We wanted you to have we'll call it a document, a bundle ID, as well as a PIN so that you could check the status of your application once it was fully submitted into the city. So kind of that check and balance was very important for us. And then being able to use a completed application to copy information or paste information, copy and paste information from the first original application to an acknowledgement form, so we did not have to re-verify or populate information and trigger them to get to another BlueInk form to do their acknowledgement of disbursement and acknowledge how we are going to pay and they are going to use the funds. So that was a big part of our process, definitely.
Very good. Well, we just some surveys that we've done, there were certainly a lot of questions came back to us about what steps were taken to expedite purchase for some of the more urgent needs as a result of the pandemic, and certainly working from home and supporting that. Were there any specific steps that you were able to take to really expedite maybe the procurement process or bypass some of those things? Any information there?
So to stay inside the boundaries of our purchasing processes with the city, we have access to various, we'll call them statewide contracts or national IPA purchasing contracts. And I believe with BlueInk, you came through our CDWG partner. So being able to use those contracts to continue to follow the processes really expedited for us.
Sure.
And again, how we spend this money is very controlled because of the audit component and the guidelines. We waited for a few weeks to receive guidelines from the federal government, and when they did finally come out, they were pretty strict on scenarios and the cause and effect of how we distribute funds.
Gotcha. Sure.
From a procurement standpoint, also. With this pandemic and the emergency orders, it relaxed some of the
Mhm.
some of the rigid procurement.
Sure.
That has also, that helped.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so some of the contracts we're able to take advantage of. We can go sole source and various methods like that were very helpful and important to us.
Gotcha. Well, good. Well, really, thanks, gang, again for all that information. Just a couple of items of conclusion, and certainly if kind of give us an idea of some of the key benefits and value that you're now seeing from electronic signature, how it's impacting operation from an efficiency standpoint, and maybe elimination of human error on some levels. Just give us an idea of so far how the benefits are looking from moving into a paperless process.
Definitely, Aaron. I can start, and you guys can follow in. So, you know, as a government agency, we maintain a record document repository. So, and we have state archive and retention requirements that we need to meet. So by maintaining social distancing, allowing people to interact with us from home through various platforms, from our mobile app through our website, has been very beneficial for us. So as Aaron stated earlier, as we move from paper into the electronic, that interaction with someone is expedited and can be very efficient for us. But when that document is completed and following whatever its unique path is in towards the business process for the individual department, or the final retention of the document, with all that being electronic already, it's an outstanding time saver for us. You know, we don't have people scanning documents. We're not filling up filing cabinets. You know, so it fits nicely, electronic documents with eSignatures in, and again, gives us that auditing component. So we have history. We have history and we have versions. Similar to Mesa, to the small business reemergence. You know, we have the original application they submitted, and we have versions and history and notes that went with that. And if that was in paper, we'd be writing them down somewhere. So data analytics is a big part, trying to understand it's electronic, this electronic format information that we can take from the BlueInk form into our analytics and do real-time reporting and analytics on the information we're receiving is also a huge benefit in our decision-making process for the city.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate that. Certainly, I know one of the foundation benefits is an improved efficiency process with electronic signatures, and it's certainly with our government customers now, we're seeing tremendous improvement across the board, saving a great deal of human hours and bandwidth, so you can focus on more pressing tasks than moving a piece of paper from one desk to another. Certainly doing that, and we're glad to see, I'm certainly very happy to see Mesa utilizing pretty much all the features we've got available in our platform. It seems to really help with those unique needs in all the departments, from contract flow management to multiple parties to certainly a document link on the website where somebody can apply immediately for any specific service. So
and foreign language, that's something that is very critical to us as well, and was a big part of our CARES program and the things we're doing today. Through BlueInk, we provided applications and documents in up to 4 languages, and that's so critical to helping our residents and our businesses get assistance.
Excellent. Well, and again, thank you, everybody. We can certainly open the floor now to some of the questions that we've received. I do just quickly want to point out some of the unique BlueInk opportunities. Certainly, our eSignature service is very comprehensive and robust, but we do have a multitude of features that really take it to the next level that a lot of folks don't know about. And from a smart document link and certainly automated delivery process, things along those lines. And hopefully Mesa can attest our support certainly that we provide is something that we value very highly as well. So we like to partner with you during this process if the need arises, certainly, to help set up programs similar to as we are doing with Mesa and others with their departmental needs. Now, I do have a question, and it's the million-dollar question: what does it all cost? And that's certainly a great question. Now, what we do with the government, with our government enterprise accounts, is we work with you on a very specific need. So where you may have one department specifically that needs to capitalize on an emergency use, or if you're looking to expand it amongst many departments on a more global capacity, we've really simplified our pricing structure based on those specific needs, and we can go anywhere from an individual department account to the need for everybody in your particular government office or department needing those services. And the best thing for us to do is to get with you specifically on that and identify what those needs are, and then certainly look at specific features that might be available that you would need to capitalize and give you some pricing there. But if you were to compare BlueInk with any of our competitors, whom I won't name, you will certainly find that there will be a savings in cost, and it will be more permissive, certainly for using the BlueInk platform, for those needs, and hopefully start moving into the paperless process. Our goal is certainly to allow for as many businesses or government agencies or offices to start getting into the paperless process, and our pricing reflects that. So it certainly, and back to the procurement part, we do have specific partners with pricing agreements that we work with, and there won't be any complications as far as becoming or utilizing the BlueInk platform. We will work with you on that as well. Another question on timeline. We do have a question regarding the expedited needs that exist. How long does it take to set up department accounts? So depending on the needs of the department, we can typically get you up and running in just a matter of a couple of days. If you do have a more extensive need for reusable templates or any of the unique features like an audio guided feature that we provide where terms can be spoken to your signer as they review the document, those might take a little bit more time. But one thing we are doing for our government customers is you will have a dedicated team for onboarding and ongoing support as we get your accounts activated. So we could literally, if you proceed today, for example, we could have you up and running very likely by Monday or Tuesday of next week. If you need something a little bit more extensive, that might take a little bit more time, but there certainly is not an issue with a delayed rollout process. We are available to you now for that. Okay, well, those are the only questions that came up, and they're two of my favorite to answer. So I appreciate everyone attending here for sending those my way. Now, just in closing, again, I'm going to deliver to everybody a recording of this webinar, so you will get a copy of it. We'll also provide you some more information about the pricing if you are interested, and some more information about the actual case studies as well. So the use cases of the platform specific to departments and needs throughout. We'll provide you some more information. I'll be your direct point of contact if you have any questions. If we can assist you in any way, shape, or form, please let us know. We are continuously meeting with government agencies across the country and invite you to do the same. We certainly look forward to having the opportunity to chat with you. One last time, thank you, Travis, Aaron, Paul. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you for the information today. It's always nice to see our customers, how they're actually using the platform, and certainly showing others where the opportunities exist to improve operations. So thank you again for joining us today. It is very much appreciated.
Well, we appreciate the partnership, and Seth, we appreciate the fact that you all are able to pivot with us when we need to pivot, and so we do appreciate that. My appeal to the folks listening to this webinar is not overwhelm BlueInk now, because we still need you to be nimble with us tonight.
You got it. Well, we're committed. We certainly know how to juggle on our side of the fence and make sure everyone's up and running, especially in our government sector, because we know how important it is, especially in these times. But thank you, Travis. We certainly appreciate you and all that we're doing together collectively for the City of Mesa. So with that said, thank you again, everybody. We certainly hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe out there, and keep your eyes peeled for that follow-up email, and we'll get you all the information promised. And I look forward to chatting with you soon. So thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.